friends! So this week I'm going to share with you all the books I read in the month of August. I got through 11 books, which is okay, and I hit my Goodreads goal of 100 for the year. I'm just still not in an ebook mood, so no ebooks this month, all physical books. Let's go ahead and get started. The first book I read this month was Misadventures on the Rebound by Lauren Rowe. I rated this one 3.5 stars. This is about a woman who is on her way to Las Vegas for her 10-year high school reunion, 5-year high school reunion, something like that. And on her way, she stops at this, dive bar place and meets this guy who there's, this whole, mystery thing, kind of, not mystery, kind of con artist thing put in to where he's he used to be a con artist, but he's trying to be better about it now and not do it, but he needs money to save his father or something. I really enjoyed that it wasn't just she needs this date to her high school reunion. She meets this guy, he pretends to be her date, they fall in love. I really liked that it added in the con story, but parts of it felt a little bit repetitive at times, where it was I love you so much, but I really need to do this, and her being well, we'll do it together, and then 5 pages later, after they've had sex or whatever, I really love you, but I have to do this, and you can't be a part of it, and she's no, we're gonna do it together. It was just kind of over and over again with that. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I did give it 3.5 stars, like I said. The next book I read was Inked Armor by Helena Hunty. I rated this one 3 stars. This is the sequel to Clipped Wings, and I actually liked the Clipped Wings book better. I felt like it was very intriguing, and then it all kind of went downhill during the second one. The main characters were very, they were supposed to be adults, but they were very, teenagery in the fact that they wanted the other one to read their mind or something. I don't even know. It was kind of repetitive at parts. Even repetitive of some of the stuff that happened in the first book, they had to deal with again in this one. I loved the overall story. I just wish that it had been, cut down to one book. That's that, yeah. The next book I read was Say You Still Love Me by K.A. Tucker. This was a new release for this month, and I rated it 4 stars. I loved this. It was such a great second chance romance. Parts of the story are told in the present time, parts of the story are told in the past, where the girl and the guy meet at summer camp as counselors, and then it kind of goes back and forth between the summer camp and the present day when he's come back into her life and she's trying to figure out why he ghosted her. I felt like there was a little bit too much emphasis put on the past, and I wish it had been a little bit more put on the present time. I felt like once they kind of met in the present time and started talking to each other, it was a very fast relationship, and I wish that they had put a little bit more focus on learning who each other was as adults, but I did really, really love this book. I love K.A. Tucker. The next book I read was a bit of a disappointment. I bought this book at Book Bonanza because I had seen it on a lot of people's favorite books of the year so far list, and that is A Lesson in Thorns by Sierra Simone. I rated this one 3 stars. It was good. It was good. I don't think I'm going to read the sequel because I've seen some reviews on that which were my issue with this book. So, if people who loved this book are seeing the issues that I had with it in the second book, I feel like they're more pronounced in the second book, and I just don't think I'm going to pick it up. Anyway, I, don't even know how to describe this book. It's about this, group of friends who knew each other when they were younger. And then, as adults, they all get, pulled back into this, manor, I guess you would call it. This, mystery house or something. And then it's some type of, ritual festival something. I don't know what the correct terms were. I don't remember a lot about the details of this book. But there was supposed to be a mystery in this, and then I was really interested in the mystery, and then the sexy times started, and they were really good. Like, they were well written, sexy scenes, but then it was kind of just like, oh, the mystery, we're not worried about that anymore. Until the very end, when they used it as a cliffhanger. Yeah, I'm disappointed in this one. I also felt like the characters didn't really know each other to be putting themselves in these sexual situations that they were like doing together. I felt like they didn't really know each other at all as adults. They knew who each other were as kids, but people change a lot between when they're children and when they're adults, and I just don't feel like that was like fleshed out as well as it could have been. So I gave this one 3 stars. It was a bit of a disappointment, but the next book I read was Valles Eaves by Mary E. Pearson. This is the sequel to Dance of Thieves that came out last year, the spin-off of the Remnant Chronicles series, and I have loved everything so far from this world. This is the conclusion to Kaz and Jace's story. At the beginning, they are separated, and most of the novel is them fighting to come back to each other, and parts of the story, like, there were a couple of parts where I was kind of just like, this is dragging on a little bit longer than I anticipated it dragging on, but for the most part, the story was well paced. I really enjoyed the conclusion, so I gave this one 4 stars. The next book I read was Butterface by Avery Flynn. I rated this one 4 stars. This is about a girl who has always been considered ugly. Basically, they considered her ugly, but basically every time they like described her, it was just that she had a big nose. So, she gets like bully set up, her going to this cop's hotel room after a wedding because she's a wedding planner, and then the cop is suddenly like having to like infiltrate her life because her brothers are not on the up and up as much as she is. But while he's protecting her from like this thing that happened, they fall in love, and I really enjoyed this one. Like I said, I gave it 4 stars. It was so short. It was like 250 something pages, so it was kind of short. It felt a little bit rushed, but overall I did really enjoy it, and I loved Avery Flynn's writing. This was my first book that I read by her. The next book I read was Making a Play by Abby Glines. This is her newest release in her Field Party series. I gave this one 4 stars. This series is a young adult football series. They're high school kids. The guys are on the football team. There's very much a formula with this series where the guy characters are not very nice until they fall in love, and that was very much the case in this one. I had a bit of a problem with the friends in this one acting the way they did towards the main guy character, because they were all like, oh, he's a player and he's like awful to girls, but they only had a problem with it when it turned out to be one of their sisters. So that was a bit of an issue for me, but overall I did really love the couple. I loved the representation in this book because the main female character is deaf, and obviously that's not an issue I have to deal with, but I felt like it was very realistic, and the fact that she was like, these people like yell at me and I can tell that they're yelling, but I don't know how to tell them that that's not going to help. And I loved that the main guy was very determined to learn sign language for her so that they could communicate without it being like difficult for her to read his lips. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. I thought it was very sweet. Next, I read Muffin Top by Avery Flynn. This is the sequel to Butterface, and the main guy is the brother of the guy from the first one. And he is a firefighter who is having to take leave of absence because he's never taken his vacation days. I think it was like for 2 years he never took his vacation days, so he's been forced on leave of absence. And at the bar when he's like drowning his sorrows because he doesn't know what to do with himself. He sees Lucy being like harassed by this guy while she's trying to eat her dinner. She is a plus-size woman who is dreading going back to her high school reunion, and Frankie, the guy, agrees to drive to her hometown with her and pretend to be her boyfriend and fake dating. Love it so much. I loved this couple so much. They were so sweet, so cute. There was a bit of a communication issue, but what else is new? But I loved this one. It was a bit longer than Butterface, so I felt like it was more of a natural progression in the timeline, and I really enjoyed it. Next, I read a small little novella, Uncharted by Tracy Garvis Graves. This is the On the Island novella that takes place after On the Island. Anna and TJ are like established in their home life. This man shows up and he tells them the story of, if you've ever read On the Island, they found these bones in a cave, and this man knows the story of how they got there. And I really enjoyed this. It was really nice to see the contrast between like Anna and TJ's story in the first book where they were stranded on this island, and what was his name? Owen? Yes. His name was Owen. He was somebody who chose to go out to the island, and I enjoyed seeing the differences in like the interactions with the island and everything from somebody who chose to be there versus people who were stranded. I did give this one 3.5 stars. It was a very short novella. I kind of wish it had been a full-length novel. I don't think I would have complained at all had we gotten Owen's story in a full-length novel, but oh well. Next I read Rage by Cora Carmack. I have already given this one to my sister because she wanted to read it, so I rated this one 3.5 stars. It was very slow at parts. This was a sequel in a trilogy, so it was kind of just like the middle ground. And it was very slow, and a lot of things happened that I can see how they would set up for something big, but nothing big happened in this one, and so it was just kind of like, beginning of it, I don't think there was enough happening, and then at the end it kind of seemed to all happen, and so there are characters and relationships that I want to see more of that just kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It just, like, there wasn't a balance for me in the, like, the transition between, like, in a trilogy, you have the beginning, the middle, and the end. It wasn't, like, a good balance of a middle for me. I don't know how to describe it. Overall, I'm still really interested to see how the story plays out. I didn't love this one. The final book I read for the month was Handle with Care by Helena Hunting. This is the newest release in the Shacking Up series. This is about Lincoln, who is the brother of the asshole from the whole series. And he's kind of a do-gooder. He does a lot of charity work in like third world countries and overseas and stuff like that. And he comes home, at the beginning of the book, he's home for his father's funeral. And he finds out that he is, like, gonna have to take over as the CEO of their family company. And he doesn't know how to do that. So Ren, the female character in this book, is hired by his mother to, like, she's a PR person. So she's hired to, like, handle him as far as getting him, like, situated and learning all about the business and everything, and they end up falling in love, and it was super cute. I adored these two as a couple. This was a very easy read. I read it all in one day, even with having to stop to go to work for like 8 hours. So it was a very easy read. It was 300 something pages, but it read, like, it flowed so nicely. I gave this one 4 stars. So that is everything I read in the month of August. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!